Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturcio and Chris Gucci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report here on a Feel Good Football Friday. Your host, of course, Dave Sturcio, Chris Gucci here at Shop Studios, ready to get into another week of football. But first, obviously, there's a couple people out there that want to make us eat our words, and they're involved in today's top movers. Now, yesterday, obviously, with the Packers playing the Titans, again, it wasn't the greatest prediction out of us that we've ever made here, but it was really like a call out of sorts. Like, you were calling him out. You said, "Look, man, show me something." And unfortunately, he showed you something.
Yeah,
yesterday.
you wouldn't know that it was a call out if you watched the social media clip that was put out there, where it was basically me calling out Traylon Burks' work ethic. I did say, hey,
that was me.
There is a chance. Chance that it's just him not being a practice guy, and he embarrassed me a little bit yesterday. He embarrassed the secondary a little bit yesterday, and the Titans' offense looked the best that they've looked all season. All it took was the Packers' defense to bring that to light.
7 catches, 111 yards. The one bomb that started as soon as he caught that bomb, I thought of you. I was like, man. Oof.
As soon as he caught that bomb, I also thought of me, and I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be a tough game," and it was.
Yeah. So obviously the Packers get handled. I mean, it was just it's funny. 4 days ago, they looked like the resurgence of the Green Bay Packers, but now season looks like it's up in the air. Will 10-7 get in? That would mean they would have to win out. So there's a lot to unpack with the Packers with that. But again, Traylon Burks, big time. If you hit his multiplier as well, he's up 18%. He has a 3-time multiplier. So Traylon Burks looks to be somebody who's trying to make his way here as the season goes on. Again, this team is built around the run. Obviously, the layup top mover would be to talk about King Henry, who had himself a decent night, not yardage-wise, but threw a touchdown, ran a touchdown. Like, he does a lot of stuff, and he had himself a nice night.
I was actually impressed with the Packers' run defense yesterday. They had to sell out completely, and it opened up a ton in the passing game, but they did a decent job stopping King Henry, all things considered, a touchdown pass and the touchdown run. But he had like 74 rushes for 55 yards or something like that. So the totals weren't really there.
We're moving on to Christian Watson now. Look, 5 touchdowns in 2 games, 5 touchdowns in like 90 hours. You know what I mean? Like, this dude is balling. And
6 days ago, he had 0 touchdowns. Today, he leads all rookie receivers in touchdown catches. 6 days ago, he had 0. Today, he leads all rookies. So this dude's on the way. Go ahead.
I
had to get that in there.
Yeah, he looks the part. Again, in a system where you have to gain some trust out of Aaron Rodgers, I think he's done that. And over the last 2 weeks, he's made some incredible plays. The guy's fast. He's very fast. I think he's a former track guy. So, like, he's definitely a fast receiver in what you need. Dobbs is out. Cobb returned yesterday. That was a big thing, I thought. Having him on the field and a little bit more of attention to be paid attention to opened up Watson just a little more.
Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't really the game that we wanted out of Randall Cobb. He had some nice plays, but really, what is Randall Cobb bringing to the table other than what he did a couple times? He's going to have some first down catches. He recovered a fumble and saved Aaron Jones on that one play. But, we could talk all day about the Packers offense. Christian Watson right now, to me, obviously, Aaron Jones has been a bright spot, but the usage of Aaron Jones hasn't been really there in terms of LaFleur's not calling his number enough, in my opinion. But Christian Watson is the lone bright spot for the Packers, and I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about the kid. He's 6'4", as you mentioned. He's a former track guy. He's very fast. If you could put the drops behind him a little bit, which it seems like he's kind of done, even though he did have 2 in the Cowboys game.
Still a rookie after all.
I'm very, very happy with the progression that I've seen from him so far. But as we talk about this, I hope you have the next guy is who we're leading to is Jordan Love.
I do. This is interesting, and there's been a lot of talk on all social media platforms on Mojo about how you should invest in a potential backup quarterback who has the ability to kind of insert himself. Now, last night, Jordan Love is up 1.6%. You're like, well, why? Why is that, Chris? Why is Jordan Love on the rise?
Well, I don't think there's any chance that they're going to bench Aaron Rodgers right now.
You could shut him down.
But there is the thumb injury that they can, wrap a nice bow around it and say, hey, we're going to let Aaron Rodgers rest. The season's kind of over at this point. I know in the NFC they're not dead, but let's be real. They would have to win 5 of 6 at worst to get into the playoffs, and the Packers don't look like a team that's about to go on that type of run. So That said, you don't really want to succeed and say, hey, Aaron Rodgers is done forever, right? Because if you bench him, then there's going to be that friction coming in the offseason. And really, the Packers aren't really in a position where they're comfortable with Aaron Rodgers leaving or even retiring at this point. I know that people might think otherwise because of the way he's been playing, but trust me, financially, even if Aaron Rodgers retires, it's not a good spot for the Packers to be in with the offseason contract they made. So I don't think Green Bay is interested in benching Rodgers, but that injury does loom, and there is the potential at him retiring. So all things considered, as they lose games, as the potential for the playoffs disappear, and Aaron Rodgers' thumb continues to be a problem, I see it that Jordan Love is probably going to get some playing time down the stretch this year. I hope they give him some playing time down the stretch because we need to find out what we got with the kid. If Rodgers does retire in the offseason, or if he doesn't for that matter, and he plays another full season, then Jordan Love, they're going to have a decision to make on him. Do they want to give him the fifth-year option without ever having seen him play?
That's crazy.
Or do they want to run the risk of wasting that first-round pick and never having it materialize into a starting quarterback while T. Higgins is working on, his fourth season of 1,000 yards?
Right.
Like that wouldn't be a good look. I understand the move, but we need to make something happen with Jordan Love one way or the other. So I think it's imminent. I do. And I hate to say it, but I do think it's imminent.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. All right. Let's move on into week number 11, ladies and gentlemen. Outside of just last night, which started us off, we'll start with some local front games, and that is one, Jets and the Patriots. Now, this is a game that the Jets absolutely have to have. If these guys want to be considered actual contenders in the AFC, this is the game that they have to win. They have to do it on the road. They have to do it against Bill Belichick, and they have to have it. It's just one of those games where it's like, you know what the Jets are this year. Everybody's getting excited about the team. What do you have in the quarterback? Like, you have to. This is a prove-it game, a statement game for the Jets. And when I look at the teams on both sides of the ball, the Jets defense has been pretty good throughout the course of the year, one of the best in the league. So I'm looking at a guy that we talked about yesterday a little bit, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris. We kind of already talked about maybe shorting him. Do you see any success out of that Patriots offense right now against a Jets defense going this Sunday?
No, I'm looking at the adjusted line yards for the defensive line of the New York Jets, and they're really good. I think that they're in the top 5. Maybe let me check again here. Yeah, the Jets are sitting at number 6 adjusted line yards. Their defensive line is shutting things down, and they're getting to the quarterback at a higher rate now than they were earlier in the year. They're climbing there as well. I'm looking at this game like it's going to be a defensive battle. As we saw in the last one, I just worry a little bit about Zach Wilson going into New England because quarterbacks don't play well in New England. Even vets sometimes struggle in New England. Zach Wilson's worst game of the season so far was against the Patriots just a couple weeks back. I don't know if he's gotten rid of that stigma that he can't play against this team going into New England in what I expect to be a freezing cold game. All the weather that's hitting the East Coast this weekend. I would imagine some of that's going to bleed over into New England, at least with some wins. I worry, man. Zach Wilson really looked terrified in that last game, and I can't imagine the Patriots defense isn't licking their chops waiting to get their hands on Zach.
Yeah, the Patriots defense as well has been playing decent football. So you're looking at this game right now, and this could be a short fest to me. You know what I mean? This could be a one where you think that the guys aren't going to get off to a good start or struggle completely. So I'm looking at a Garrett Wilson. I'm looking at the outside guys. I believe that Elijah Moore was announced this week that he's going to be playing in the slot. So
they got to try something.
They got to try something with this kid. So obviously he's had himself a rough year as far as targets are concerned. I can't say the Jets are having a rough year at 6-3. He is individually. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's
looking at the last game, I looked at the box score, and there really wasn't much offense out of the Patriots. Even though it seems like they beat the piss out of the Jets, they kind of did. But it was really the defense and the turnovers that were the story in that game. It really wasn't Ramondre Stevenson had a very regular game. It wasn't anything crazy. And you could probably expect to see a little bit more of that. Just a workman's-like game, and the Patriots just pounding the football. To little to no avail, but the turnovers are going to be the difference again, and that's the way I see it. So definitely short Zach in this one.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm on that as well. Moving on, same city, different team. New York Giants taking their talents on the road. Are they on the road? Or are they home for this?
They're home.
Oh, they're home.
Yeah, because the Bills are playing in Detroit.
That's right. Did you see the tweet that the Detroit Lions put out?
I did.
Very, very clever. So anyway, the New York Giants hosting the Detroit Lions, and the Lions coming off their big win against the Packers. The Giants are obviously still rolling right now, and we've talked about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley at length. Seems that all signs are pointing to an extension or a brand new contract, rather, for Saquon Barkley. So what do you do with Daniel Jones? Maybe you sign them both. I don't know. But this game in particular, to stay afloat, and now the window has opened for a team like the Giants and the Cowboys. It depends on what they do this week. But like all of a sudden with that Eagles loss, you're thinking, maybe that division's not out of sight. So they got to keep the pedal to the metal right now. The Giants are obviously playing very good football, complimentary football, both sides of the ball. Saquon Barkley just, again, 931 yards, 6 touchdowns this year already. The Lions, they're giving up 427 yards a game.
Yeah.
So this could be an absolute feast for any and all Giants skill position players. Not all of them, but you know what I mean? Like the majority of them, especially Saquon Barkley, as the Lions are giving up.
Any and all, you mean Vanilla Vic and Saquon Barkley, right? Because they're going to run all over
160 yards a game as of right now, the average that I'm seeing here. I'm not sure about the adjusted stuff, but what I will say is that the Lions are giving up a lot of yards.
The adjusted stuff lines up as well. Let me check right now. Adjusted line yards for the New York Giants offensive line. It's actually lower than you'd think. Well, it's actually way lower than you'd think.
As you scroll, I'm like, oh, no,
they're 23rd, but
go.
it really, that just goes to show. It's like the Giants, we've looked at the metrics and the data all year long, and the Giants haven't stacked up to be where they're at with their record. But the bottom line is, whether it be scheduling, whether it be just timely good plays in the fourth quarter, the Giants seem to get it done. Their third down efficiency, their red zone efficiency. And that's what happens when you have a team that runs the football well, because you set up these third and shorts often, and their defense, it blitzes a lot, so it makes up for a lot of deficiencies that they might have. I don't think that there's a full-strength Lions team in this one. They've been battling injuries on and off. Amon-Ra St. Brown, concussion, ankle, elbow, whatever he's had, it's just not been a good season. While there's promise there, and I like the player a lot, it's just he hasn't been able to keep it together this year. Same thing with DeAndre Swift, 3 straight games under 10 yards rushing. I think there's some openings here for the Lions' run game, which there has been all season long. That's been the Giants' bugaboo if there has been one. And I think if Swift is healthy, you could see some spurts. And if not, it could be a Jamal Williams day. The Lions are going to have to run the football in this one to kind of keep it close, because I don't think Jared Goff is going to be able to beat the Giants. And the Giants are going to dumb this game down a lot. Saquon's going to handle the ball 25 times. The other 18 plays, it's going to be Vanilla Vic on the end around.
Vanilla Vic.
But that's what I think. I think the Giants kind of steamroll the Lions in this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Lions are a scrappy team. They've hung with the best. They've beaten some of the best.
I can't believe I just said the Giants are going to steamroll anybody.
Yeah, well.
But they might.
You know what's funny? I was watching this. I was at the barbershop yesterday, and I saw, like in the distance, that one of the TVs had like percentages to win games, like percentage of like chances to win the game, right? And they ran the Dallas Cowboys schedule out, and they put like 56 or something like that, or 60. No, like 56 for the Vikings. The following week, Thanksgiving Day, the Cowboys are 79% chance of winning that game, according to all their metrics. It's like, how bad are the Giants that we're not seeing this? Or are we all just going to have egg on our faces at the end of the year when the Giants are winning the division?
You know who's seeing it? The Giants are seeing it, and they're saying that's a whole lot of disrespect. But the way the Cowboys controlled the line of scrimmage in the first game, I think that's what they're basing it on.
And that was with Cooper Rush.
There is certain aspects of football where you could say it's an anomaly, and like any given Sunday, things could happen. But when you control the line of scrimmage the way they did in that first game, I think it's hard to cap it any other way.
Right. Danger Russ back home to take on the Las Vegas Raiders, who are absolutely reeling right now. The Raiders have not looked good in any way, shape, or form. It's an unfortunate thing. Again, they make the big moves throughout the offseason, get all these guys on there, spend a lot of money, and they're just not playing. And I don't know if you chalk that up to coaching. I don't know what you do here. But the Broncos are in a good spot, because the Broncos have also been a very, very I don't know, troubled team, I guess you could say. Like, Russ isn't doing his thing. The running game took a hit with Javonte being out for the year. Their running game now is just, it's just like a committee. I believe, if anything else, what's this guy? Is Judy hurt again?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's tough sledding, but this is another game that, like, if you want to avoid the basement of the AFC West, you got to have this one. And the way I see this one playing out is the fact that the Raiders are giving up 386 yards a game, most of them through the air. So will Russ cook in this one? I look for a big game out of Cortland Sutton this week.
Yeah, I mean, Russ arguably had his best game of the season this year against the Raiders.
A lot of points in that
their
game,
first
right?
meeting. There was a ton of offense in that game. I mean, like when you say Russ had his best game of the season, it still wasn't the best game.
He's been having a rough year.
He didn't even have 250 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns throwing, and he didn't throw any picks, and he ran one in himself. So, maybe you could see some offense out of Russ. I'm not really in the business of going long on Russ at this point because there's just been way too much bad for you to bank on Russ being the guy in any given Sunday. I'm not going that route right now. I've been hearing things that Russ is calling the wrong audibles, and he's calling old Seahawks audibles in game situations, and that's what some Broncos players are reportedly saying. I don't know how true that is, but when you start hearing things like that and rumblings of that's not an offense I want to be involved with.
Can you imagine?
In any way, shape, or form, even though they're playing arguably the worst secondary in football.
He looks at Cortland Sutton like, DK, and you're like, what are you? I'm not DK. It's like, wow.
And
okay.
as far as like what the Raiders are looking like offensively, there's some hope with some of these guys because I'm looking at it, adjusted line yards. Raiders are number 1. We all know what Josh Jacobs has been like this year. Just remember the last Monday we came in here and we talked about the Raiders after a Broncos game, and it was Josh Jacobs, 28 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Right. It was the Jacobs game.
Diced them up. I don't know where they're at right now. I don't know where the Raiders are at. Like as a team, that locker room is probably in turmoil. Josh McDaniels hasn't been able to cheat since week 6 of his first season. Did you see? Yes.
Can you explain that for a second? Just because I didn't understand what happened. I saw like a quick
There's a
tweet.
podcast out there, and I will show you the video after the show. There's a podcast out there where they were making a thing. It was former Broncos players talking about it was Brandon Marshall. I forget who the other player was, a linebacker. And they were saying we were 6-0, and we were filming the 49ers practice, and they caught us. And then they went 6-8 that season. So, and then if you look at his win-loss total since that game, since they were 6-0, it's really bad. And then at the end of the podcast, they were like, we knew we weren't that good. We were cheating. The Broncos players straight up said it, Brandon Marshall and the linebacker. So, yes,
God.
Josh McDaniels, I think he's going to be out of a job soon. But I also read this, which is very, very terrible, that the Raiders are cash broke. I know this has nothing to do with the market, but the coaches are coming, so maybe this does have some value. The Raiders are cash broke. And they're sending up smoke and mirrors of the fact that they think Josh McDaniels is doing a good job this year. He's doing an amazing job this year.
Such coach.
It's like clearly he's not. The people can see that. But the Raiders can't afford to get rid of him because they dealt with the Gruden debacle. Right now they're in like $30 million to head coaches. If they fire another one, you don't just fire a head coach the way you terminate a contract. Like you got to pay him.
Yeah.
So
tough sledding. Bet the Broncos. It's like it's been a rough year.
I'm not betting anybody in this one.
Either.
But I do like Devontae, even though the Broncos' pass defense has been elite. Devontae is just hard to contain in any situation, and Josh Jacobs will probably do his work as well.
One of the more exciting teams that we've been talking about, mainly because of Justin Fields' play, is the Bears as they faced the Falcons this week. Now, I raised this question to you, Chris, is that how much longer could this be before he's figured out? I mean, I know Justin Fields is a crazy athlete and he's doing wonderful things with his legs, but like, at what point do we start scheming for this and have a spy? And you know what I mean? Like, the jig is up, is what I'm saying. Like, is it done, or is he just going to keep doing his thing?
It's not done. It's certainly not done this week. I mean, Atlanta's defense has struggled to stop just about everybody this year. So I don't think that Justin Fields and the resurging Bears, and I shouldn't even say resurging because they haven't been there for years, but the surging Bears offense, they have over 130 points over their last 4 games combined. Who would have thought? There was a time where I thought we might not see 130 points out of the Bears all year long. And yes, they will start scheming to stop Justin Fields, but what you've seen out of Justin Fields these last couple of weeks is he's actually starting to find receivers because I would imagine they are bringing guys up to make some stops. Interesting tidbit in this game is that Khalil Herbert's been put on the IR, and I think David Montgomery finally, for the first time this season, will be like the lead back, the only lead back, and we could probably see maybe 15, 20 carries going to him. But ever since Justin Fields has taken over as the lead rusher for the Bears, all Bears running backs are pretty much on short season for me. So even though there's no Khalil Herbert, I still have very little to no interest in David Montgomery.
I have a little birdie who told me something about a man with the last name Ebner as the backup running back this week. To take a look at him this week, since the Bears are a run first team.
Is this Rube?
No, this is Jay Silva. But he told me, he's like, look, you gotta go take a look at this because Montgomery's just returning to practice. You know what I mean? Like just this week.
Now,
so it's like,
tell your buddy, tell the birdie, Jay, that if you want to take a look at him, that's fine. But I just don't.
You know how the market works, though. You know how it works. This guy can jump
fair
big
now,
if he has a 80-yard game.
Fair. And because if there's no expectations, I would imagine if he doesn't play, there's not going to be too much risk there.
Mm-hmm. Just a little birdie.
For the same reason that I just said, because Justin Fields is now like the clear-cut lead rusher.
Yeah.
Running backs on those types of offenses tend to not be really that good. They're definitely going to get vultured at the goal line because the quarterback is the more sure bet to punch it in.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's somebody, I mean, look at Cole Kmet. That's the guy that's been reaping the benefits of the Claypool addition and Justin Fields' newfound. I really shouldn't even call it Justin Fields' newfound. He's always had this.
I think the confidence kicked a little bit,
but it's also the Bears coaching staff is now designing runs where, for whatever reason, they haven't really done so earlier in his career. Now there's about 8 to 10 per game. So what that does is it means like, okay, the defense is this guy is going to be running. It's not about a scramble at this point. He's going to be running the football, so they have to respect it. So Cole Kmet, all formats, keeper, dynasty, fantasy. I think Cole Kmet is a very low buy. He's getting up there, and people might start respecting him a little bit more. But he was a free agent last week, and I just added him in a dynasty league. And I'm struggling at the tight end spot. I had Dawson Knox, who just bailed on the season.
Yeah, he busted.
But yeah,
flip side real quick. Yeah, flip side real quick. Look, we haven't seen. We've waited and waited and waited for the Kyle Pitts breakout party, and I know he's had a better back half so far of 10 weeks. The last 5 have been a little better as far as target share and as far as what he's looked like on the field. But when you look at the Bears defense, who give up 142 on the ground per game, is this a big game for like a Cordarrelle Patterson or anybody that's involved in that rushing attack for the Falcons?
The Atlanta Falcons 3rd in adjusted line yards, and maybe the Browns are the most running consistent football team in the NFL. The Falcons are coming up 2nd in that regard. They're going to run the football, and there's no secret about that. But we have seen, Drake London kind of came on a little bit last week. He had a touchdown. I think a second half surge out of Drake London is possible because of their ability to run the football, open things up. And now he's starting to come into his own. He's still a rookie, so not everybody's going to light it up right out of the gate. And I think you're going to start to see him get more involved. Just like you saw Treylon Burks get involved yesterday, we're starting to see Christian Watson get involved. Getting a little more seasoning and understanding the offense is important, and I think we're starting to see that at a Drake London. Kyle Pitts, I'm not sure what's going on. Early in the season, it was about the usage, and they just weren't putting him on the field enough, and you wonder about that because the talent is supposed to be all-world and the most elite talented tight end prospect ever, and I just don't see it anymore.
Show me. Yeah.
I see it. But for whatever reason, it has not translated to success on the football field. Long term, I think Kyle Pitts is the dude.
Obviously.
But second season, he's definitely on a downward spiral. And I know I don't want to bring fantasy football into this again, but just for relatability purposes, he was drafted in like the 2nd, 3rd round in most leagues this year, and he's only averaging 8 points a game in fantasy. That's one of the biggest bust picks in fantasy. And the Mojo market, I'm imagining, responded accordingly. And he's probably shot down this season so far.
They absolutely have.
But Kyle Pitts is a buy low guy if you think about him long term, just not for this game.
Yeah. All right. A game that got flexed into Sunday night for whatever reason. It's like almost like it was enough of seeing the Broncos right in prime time. I'm over seeing Justin Herbert. It's a vanilla offense, but this week in particular, he might be getting Keenan Allen back. He might be getting Mike Williams back. So maybe now is the time we see the real Chargers stand up. And Eckler's been obviously he's a stud. Justin Herbert is one of your first investments on the Mojo market. So it's like one of those things where he's been playing, obviously, as good as he's playing, 2,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 6 picks. They've quietly been an okay team, but I felt like it's just been very vanilla when he doesn't have the outside help throwing the ball around. In come a Chiefs team into L.A., and again, the Chiefs are banged up. They just put Mecole Hardman on the IR for an abdomen issue. Don't really understand what that was all about. Obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster's got the concussion. If he doesn't practice today, he's going to be ruled out. I think Vantas Scantling also got an illness this week. So the entire Chiefs pass catchers outside of Kelsey are banged up. Does that mean they finally revert back to the run, a little Pacheco action?
No. In come Kadarius Toney.
Good old Tony.
Right?
Good old, I hurt myself, I'm not hurting.
The old grade 2 hamstring
Sky Moore,
strain.
too. Sky Moore,
Sky Moore. Look, man, this is what the Chiefs do. It's next man up. Mecole Hardman gone. Okay, we saw last week what Kadarius Toney did with his stat line. That was very Mecole Hardman-esque. Now Juju's probably not going to play. I think we might get to see like a 15 targets toward Kadarius Toney in this game. If that's the case, just
we're gonna find out if
out
he's a gadget guy or is an actual
Look
receiver.
out. I think he's an actual receiver, and he could be a gadget guy, which is perfect fit for this offense. And yeah, Sky Moore, speaking of gadget guy, good luck trying to figure things out with the Chiefs and what they're going to do. The Chargers defense has not been really that good.
They have not. 372.
But can I say this?
yards
The
every
Chargers defense, their biggest weakness has been stopping the run, specifically over the last month or so. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been completely absent from the Chiefs offense.
Goodbye.
But I will say, at an extreme buy low still, he's had multiple big weeks in terms of the Mojo market, but it hasn't really translated to stats and counting stats in football games. But Isaiah Pacheco might be a good play in this one because he got involved a lot more last week, and they've been talking like he's the starter. And I know that doesn't really mean much in Kansas City because the involvement in the running game is few and far between. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely interested in investing a little bit in Pacheco for this game because it's a good opportunity for them to showcase him a little bit on the national stage. I'm definitely involved with Kadarius Toney. I'm buying in all his football cards. I'm doing all that right now because I think there's potential for him in the playoffs to really explode. Kadarius Toney, like the talent is there. We saw a little bit. He had 25 games with the Giants, 0 touchdowns. 25 plays with the Chiefs, 1. So if that trend continues, I expect to see Kadarius Toney lighting up the scoreboard.
So would you say you're in on Kadarius Toney?
I'm definitely in on Kadarius Toney. Now, on the flip side of things, Justin Herbert has been getting a little bit of flack this year, and rightfully so, because the Chargers' offense hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing in terms of what they were expected to be this season so far. Well, I say they're 5-4. Last week they were 5-3 going into the game, and that's when I kind of had to look at things and say, hey, this offense is still a top 5 passing offense. And then when you look at the injuries that they've dealt with, that's a testament to one guy and one guy only. I mean, also the 5 guys that are protecting them. They have the best pass protection in the NFL, which is not even close. They've only, going into last week, they only allowed 10 sacks on the season.
And this is a big time to do that, considering how banged up Justin Herbert's been this year.
It's a little weird to me, and this is a common thing on both defense and offensive lines, where you have a team, the Chargers, they cannot run block for anything, but they're the best pass blocking team in football, which means that they're probably undersized and they have good athletic guys. All that said, you have a real like conundrum when you face the Chiefs, because you really don't want to get caught in the let me play catch-up game. And I know that their guys are banged up on offense, but it's still Pat Mahomes, it's still Kelsey. The offensive line's healthy. Yeah. All those things are still good. So you have this conundrum. You have to either decide, are we going to try and run the football against this team and try and keep that offense off the field? When you're the Chargers, that's really not that easy because Eckler's averaging like 1 yard a carry this year. It's not really working for them running the football. And the receivers, you want to get into a shootout and just say, hey, let's just light it up and see if we could keep up with these guys. That's not the easiest thing to do either. I think it's actually beneficial to the Chiefs to go into L.A. That's like the easiest stadium to play in. The Chargers have barely any fans there. There'll probably be a sea of red. I just don't see how the Chiefs on the road, I wonder what they're looking like against the spread on the road, but we're not picking the game here. I like all the Chiefs offensive players that I talked about.
I'm interested in the Pacheco thing, especially the Toney thing. You've definitely swayed me on that.
And I definitely don't really have much interest in any Chargers in terms of the one-game plays because the receivers, we don't know who's going to play. If they both play, then you could pretty much get rid of Palmer and the other receiver
I know you're
that's
talking
been
about.
playing,
Yeah.
Jackson.
No, something else.
God.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. We don't know who's going to play. So if the 2 starters are out, the main guys are out, then we could maybe see a little bit of an uptick for the other ones. But because of their uncertainty surrounding them, and if they go and then they can't go after 1 quarter, I'm just out on that altogether. I'm not in on Herbert unless his receivers are playing. We don't know about that. So
all signs are pointing that they will. So they've practiced all week. Everybody's back. This could be the first time since like week 1.
And playing and being good to go and being able to really, go full steam ahead against this Chiefs defense is what I'm really worried about.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, week 11 is here. It's time to really buckle down on your market and make sure to start doing that by following us on social media. That's at Mojo on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And, of course, join the Discord right now. The conversation just keeps on going. You can definitely check out mojo.com for all the blogs and the insight there. There's a lot of cool things. That I was actually all over the website yesterday looking at articles, and not only that, but just different nuances. And I still like to brush up on, like, how is this all scored? How do these guys make money? What are we doing here? So if you want education on it, head on over to mojo.com. So with that, for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gucci. This has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. Enjoy the football on Sunday. We'll be back here to put a bow on week number 11 on Monday morning. Take care, everybody.